In this module, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of campaign optimizations within Seller Central, as well as how to do those optimizations in ads. PPC is not a set it and forget it function of selling on Amazon. So it's important to do systematic checks on things like which keywords are working or not and why. Updating and adjusting your placement bidding based on results. Doing 30-day checks, such as reviewing the 4 types of auto campaign targeting. Updating product listing copy and back-end keyword pages based on what's working, and more. On that note, let's dive in. As you've learned in the previous modules, campaigns are run primarily by keywords or ASINs. But when you're targeting broad match keywords, say in a research campaign, you're letting Amazon match those keywords with search terms that shoppers are using. The same if you're running auto campaigns. You're also letting Amazon match your product with search terms that shoppers are entering. So that's one of the primary reasons why the first thing you should do to optimize your campaigns once they're launched is review your search terms. That's where you're going to find which ones are working for your keywords or auto campaign and which ones are potentially killing you. In Amazon, the way to generate a deep history of your search term activity is to generate reports every 30 days. You'll find reports over here in the left side menu. And once you click here, you're going to be able to create a report. You can see this account already has quite a few in here. But you'd create a report depending on the type of campaigns that you have. Now, I'm just going to do sponsored products, but if you happen to be brand registered, you can see you can also do sponsored brands or sponsored brand videos here as well. Search term report is the type of report I suggested you use first, because again, these are the ones connected to your keywords or targets, but you can also do a report based on targeting as well as advertised product campaign and placements, which can be handy to see which placements your ads are doing best when you're doing sponsored brands and sponsored display as well. That's probably eventually going to get connected here. But for now, we're just going to look at your sponsored products and the search terms. I do suggest a summary of each day versus, or for the time period of 30 days per search term versus looking at it every day. That's just a lot of data. And we're going to look at the last 30 days. And unfortunately, that's the furthest you can go back in Amazon is 30 days. In ads, which I'll show you later, you can actually go back up to 2 years, which is a deeper history, obviously. But in order to get this regularly, and again, build a deep history, you would just have to build these reports every single 30-day period. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here because I actually ran this report already. It's actually the first one listed here. So once they are downloaded or created, you can then download them, which I've actually already done as well. And I put it into a Google Sheet so that it's easier to see. So that's what this report here. So if you just downloaded this in an Excel sheet, you're going to see something very similar to this, but I actually like to use Google Sheets because it makes things a little bit quicker. So what you're going to want to do is optimize this or sort this by, again, what's spending the most or what has the highest ACoS. Total advertising cost of sales here is your ACoS and your spend is here. So again, in Google Sheets, it's pretty easy. If you want to just select everything that's here, you just hit Control A. That selects everything that's on this page, which happens to be 37,000 search terms. And then you can also then right click and hit by sort. So I'm going to sort by first the 2 different columns. I'm going to actually add that has a header row. I'm going to sort first by ACoS because again, you want to see what is actually spending the most for that maybe is a higher ACoS for you. And then I'm also going to then add by spend because you might have ones that are just spending and not making any sales, but are still pretty high. So sort by highest to lowest. And then in that way, you can see right away that I've got now my highest ACoS search terms, which is quite high on some of these. You got 600% all the way down, to the lowest ACoS. And then the next category that I should see after that is actually my spend. So you can see here that I've got some things that I've spent, but I've actually not made any sales. So there's no way for me to search the ACoS. But I can tell that these ones are wasting money, obviously, since they've spent this much and have not made any sales. So once you do look and sort this data the way you want it, you're going to actually then want to use this to do your optimizations. So depending on where your ACoS goal is, I'm sure it's certainly a lot lower than some of the ACoSs that you guys are seeing here. So Effectively, what you're going to do with this information is take the search terms that are listed here in this column, and you're going to copy and paste the ones that you actually want to make negative. Making negative, again, once you make a keyword negative or a search term negative in a particular campaign, which the campaign is listed here, then this is going to be no longer seen for or connected to this campaign or these keywords here, which is listed in the targeting section here. So just as an example, we'll do one right here. Let's see, this is a broad search term. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. And it is the campaign that I'm looking for is called H10 EXWW research. All right. So let's go back over to Amazon. And I believe that is the first campaign that we were looking at. Basically, what we're looking at here is, again, these are all the same keywords. I'm only looking at last month. So this is October. The report that I looked at in Seller Central is just the last 30 days. But again, the search terms are where we were looking at in that report, which you can also do here as well. But I'm going to show you here what I want to do. It actually might already be a negative, but let's just say that's just the word that I copied, obviously. So I'm going to add that to negative. Amazon's going to give me the option to add it as negative exact or negative phrase. I'm going to go ahead and do it negative exact. It was a pretty specific word that we had there. So add keyword. And so now that search term that I found basically on this search term report is no longer going to be spending for this broad match keyword. For the keyword is actually wrist wraps, but the search term that I just made negative exact is wrist wraps for weightlifting women because it had a 320% ACoS. Now you notice I didn't do that for the top one here because I noticed that this is an exact match keyword. So the search term is actually the keyword. So in this case, you would just make this keyword, or you would just pause this keyword because obviously it's also not performing very well because of that high 600% ACoS that we just saw over here. So you would want to basically go through your search term report and find those wasters, those ones that are spending way too much or have way too high of ACoS or spending way too much. And then you would also want to sort by the ones that are spending with no sales, like this one I had mentioned earlier. So again, this is another exact. So this is one that would need to be paused because the keyword is exact same as a search term. No need to make it a negative because it's not, the search term is the same as the keyword. So you just pause that keyword. So same with this one, and this one. This is one that would probably also make a negative. It's spent $24. And no sales. This product, I believe, is only $15. So that's definitely, even with one sale, it's going to be a super high ACoS. So I would probably make weightlifting wrist wraps also a negative for this particular campaign. It happens to be the same campaign. So why don't we just do it again since I know that that is loaded. And just to give you guys an idea, add negative, and we're going to make that negative exact. So you can see that this is, see, it's already a negative, so I don't have to worry about it. So you can see that that is a pretty exhaustive thing to do, but this is really the main way to look at search terms and keywords in a kind of a broad view of the entire account, right? So you can see here, this is the campaign name, and we're looking at every single campaign for that month. So now the point of doing these regularly is if you do them once a month, then maybe you can connect these search term reports together, and then you can have month over month reporting. You can then look maybe at 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months back to look at your search term reports to get the data. Obviously, that's a lot of manual work, but we do have the ability in Amazon now, at least, to look at search terms per campaign. So again, I'm in this one campaign here, and I can see the search terms for, again, last month, the same period, in this account. So this is a new kind of a newer feature that Amazon has implemented to actually kind of show you some of the same information from the search term report. But again, it's only at that campaign level, not at the entire account level like we were just looking at the report. And you can only go back 65 days. So again, you would do the same thing. You would find the ones that maybe are spending too much, maybe have too high of an ACoS, or it happens to be the same one that we just looked at. So wrist wraps for weightlifting women is the search term connected to this keyword that we literally just made a negative in this account. Again, this is another way that you can do this without having to download the search term reports However, you're only looking, you'd have to go to each campaign and then do that one at a time in order to see which search terms are not working for you. So the one difference that I do want to note with this is that you're going to, if you're doing sponsored brand campaigns, they are going to be a little bit different because sponsored brand campaigns don't have any ad groups. So you're just going to look at those keywords immediately within that particular ad group. So I want to actually show you an example of that just to give you an idea of between the difference of sponsored products and sponsored brands. As you can see here, you can look at your campaigns by type. So if you do have this available, I wanted to show you guys this. So this is it's a higher ACoS campaign that I noticed earlier. The ACoS is 245%. And actually, this has only been live this month. So it's actually really only this month that this account has been active. So I figured I would go in here and see if there's additional optimizations that we could make on this particular campaign. And the one thing I did notice that I did want to share with you guys, you should have brand defense campaigns. It's something that we recommended in our previous modules, whether that's a sponsored product campaign or sponsored brand campaign. You just want to have your particular brand listed so that you can make sure that your competitors aren't using your keywords as targets. But the one thing that you want to also note, if you're using broad as a match, you do still have to be careful and look for search terms that might be spending that might not even have your branded term in there. So this is a new, this is Amazon letting you know that this is a new feature. I don't know why you can't dismiss it, but let's just work around it. So the thing I wanted to show you guys simply is that you do have to be careful with your broad-based keywords. Now this, you can see this particular account is called Bear Grips. That's the type or that's the account name. That's their product name. So they have one of the keywords in here that's broad is this Bear Grips wrist wrap. So Amazon's just connecting it to the word wrist wraps. So the user didn't put the product name in there at all. They just put the second part, wrist wraps. And so it's still going to connect to it. And that is, problematic because the user actually wasn't looking specifically for this brand. They were just looking for wrist wraps. Because wrist wraps is in this keyword, it got connected. And as you can see, it's not really good results. Since launch, which was just this month, it's spent $30 and has only made one sale, which is 204% ACoS. Again, here you can see that Bear Grips, again, is the keyword. It's the only keyword that we're actually targeting phrase match. But wrist wraps for weightlifting is included. And that is the way that phrase match works. Again, as long as it's together, which it is here, it's going to show that. So the thing I wanted to share is the spend. So if we sort by spend, we can see here, and this is a completely random one. Sometimes Amazon knows the brand, the category of your product, obviously, since they know the products that you are selling. So even though the keyword that we're searching for here is, or that we're targeting is Bear Complex CrossFit Grips, for example. That's the keyword that we're targeting, broad match. But you can see here, the search term that Amazon has connected it to is gym gloves for men. Literally none of the words gym gloves for men are in the keyword that this is connected to. So again, I do highly recommend you doing your branded keywords in your campaigns. Again, it's for defense and make sure that your campaigns appear. If somebody happens to type in, Bear Grips gloves, you do want your particular product to appear. But you do have to watch it, again, if it is broad, because Amazon will connect different search terms to your keywords that really aren't even in there. It's relevant because it is actually the product, but it's not actually what we're trying to target here. And as you can see in this case, the results are pretty bad. So that's definitely something that I wanted to share with you guys to keep a lookout for. And the other thing that I wanted to share is the auto campaigns. So auto campaigns do have filters or match types that are a little bit different than your broad match keywords or your any keyword-based campaigns. They don't have keywords, so basically they are, you can look at them and see how Amazon is matching users to your particular product by targeting. So let's see here. Auto campaign, we're just going to find an example of one. So some of these are kind of old, but in, I believe, early 2019 is when Amazon started using the targeting feature. So either one of these actually will do. I'm going to click on this one here. Once you click on an ad group within an auto campaign, you're going to see this targeting. And this targeting button is not available for any of the manual campaigns. But this gives you an idea of how Amazon is targeting your particular product to users. Close match, if you hover over each one, it actually tells you what each one is. But close match is basically Amazon's going to show your ad to shoppers who use search terms closely related to your products. This is one that usually performs the best. Loose match, Amazon's going to show your ad to shoppers who use search terms that are loosely related to your products. This one actually performs poorly, mostly. Compliments will show your ad to shoppers who view detailed pages of products that complement your product. So this is product listing targeting. So this is Amazon saying, for your auto campaign, we're going to show your product on the listing of products that complement your product. So maybe you sell sheets, they're going to maybe show you on your product on the detailed pages for beds or pillows. So substitutes, again, Amazon's going to show your ad to shoppers who view the detailed pages of products similar to yours. So, an alternative to yours basically is what this is saying. If they're looking at a product listing in the product targeting area, they're going to show your ad on listings that are similar to your particular product. But the cool thing about this is that if you do eventually have, I'm just going to click on lifetime. I think this campaign's a couple of years old, but you kind of get an idea of what has been working and what has not been working for these particular campaigns. So when you see that you have bid settings here that you can actually change, you can really kind of narrow in on what's the best for your particular product. Now you can see here that even though this has only spent $8.58, it's only made one sale with a high ACoS, again, because this product is only $15. So substitutes is probably something we should just stop targeting because it's probably not going to work for us. But these other two are. Now we've got one that had 20% ACoS and one at a 50% ACoS. So I'm probably going to want to increase this close match one because it is working for us. Now a custom bid is one, or a campaign bid currently is $1.15 for this target. I'm just going to increase this to the suggested bid of $1.27, and hopefully we're going to see an increase in the performance for this particular campaign because we've increased the bidding for this particular target. So that's different ways that you can optimize your campaigns, whether they be automatic or whether they be the manual keyword-based campaigns as well. If you have product targeting campaigns, which are ASINs as targets, you can essentially optimize them the same exact way. You would find search terms sometimes in your sponsored product or your search term report. You're going to see ASINs here. As you can see right here, I'm actually right at a perfect spot. This happens to be a product targeting campaign in the search term report. You can see that the ASIN is listed. This is the target that we're actually using for the product listing. And the search term is the same because obviously it's kind of an exact match. We're targeting just this product listing. So that is obviously what the search term is going to be. But you can see results for these as well. So again, whether it be ASINs or whether it be keywords, you're going to be able to use your search term report to really kind of fine tune and optimize your campaigns on a regular basis. So now I'm going to show you how to do this a little quicker in Ads, which is our PPC management tool. So I'm going to click over to our dashboard. We're in the same account. We're also looking at the previous month, which happens to be October. And I won't go into too much details into the Ads tool. You can always go to our website and look at under the tool section. There is a whole website about Ads to give you the rundown of how it works. But I just wanted to give you a comparison of the difference in looking at your search term report in Ads versus doing it in Seller Central. So in Ads, you don't have to download any reports. We do it all for you. In our analytics page, you just click on a search term, and again, it just pulls up everything immediately. So you don't have to move or copy and paste. You can. We do have a clipboard here. You have the ASINs here. Again, you can see all the different keywords. You can sort by however you want. It's currently sorted by spend, but if you just wanted to sort by ACoS, you do that with just a click of a button, which you could also set up, of course, on your own spreadsheet in Google. But again, one major benefit of this is that we go back up to 2 years. So instead of having to download multiple reports, I'm just going to go back a year or this year. Instead of having to do every single month, do our search term report in Amazon to make sure you have, or make sure that you can look at an extended period of time if you wanted to, you can just do that here, and ads will automatically pull up all the data that we do have in that given time period. Now, we only go back 60 days, so it really depends on when you became a Helium 10 member, when you started using ads. We're going to pull in 60 days worth of data, and then we're going to save it for a maximum of 2 years. So similarly to how I did this in the search term report, again, I'm just going to look at it, sort it. I can do by spend, by ACoS. And this is where we would, again, want to weed out the things that are performing poorly and basically make them negative, right? So that's done really just this negative column. There's no back and forth. So this particular search term, Weightbench, has spent quite a bit of money and has a really, really bad ACoS. So definitely something we want to make negative. It might actually already be negative if we've done our homework, but yeah, see, so as soon as I click that, we're going to look at, basically this year, and we're going to say this search term was found in 3 different campaigns, and we have the ability to exit out or to make it negative in the campaigns that it's performing poorly in, which is this one, obviously at 386% ACoS, and this one as well, the auto campaign, because it's spent $25, 31 clicks and no sales. So both of these are ones that we would want to make this particular term negative. It hasn't spent that much here in this particular campaign, and it only has 3 clicks, so that's why it's actually still on in this campaign. But I'm going to make it negative anyway, because Weightbench really doesn't have anything to do with this particular product. It's just a wrist strap. You might do that work on a Weightbench, but it's not as relevant as it could be. So that's how you would do that. Your long-term look back of your search terms just by changing the dates. If I just want to look at last month, we can do that as well, just how we were doing that in Seller Central. And I can go through and I can do the same type of review by just finding the search term that it hasn't performed well, clicking on this and saying, see, this is a really good example. When you're looking at this view, this is spent $31, made 17, so it's a high ACoS. However, the search term actually did okay in this particular campaign at a 15% ACoS, but it did poorly in the auto campaign. So we can just turn it off in the auto campaign. Now, the other thing that you want to look for too, which you can do in your search term reports or in a tool like Ads, is find keywords that have performed well. Now, or search terms that have performed well. Now, you would want to do that because maybe you want to move them into a campaign of their own or a different campaign so you can target. Because again, these are just search terms, right? So these aren't actual keywords that users typing in unless it's exact. Exact keywords would be mixed in here as well. So it really depends on the matching type. But let's say I want to look for keywords that had an ACoS below, which is below 30%. And I want to know it's made at least maybe 2 sales. So it's made over 1 sale. So we have, again, just really handy filters that you guys can see that I just used. And there it is. This is every single keyword in the month of October, or search term, I should say, that had a less than 30% ACoS and then made over 1 sale. And over 1 sale, again, is typically when I think a search term has proven itself a little bit versus just 1 sale. Sometimes 1 sale can be a fluke. As you can see, all of these over here are at least 2 sales. So we're pretty much in the clear with any of these. So again, this is not something that you would want to make negative, maybe, but this is a keyword or search term that maybe you want to use as a keyword in a particular campaign, right? So this is, again, another reason why we used this clipboard feature. Now, if all of these key search terms were in the same campaign, I could just select all and maybe move them over to that campaign. If I wanted to see them by campaign, I can do that as well. So I can see that this search term is in these 3 different campaigns. And based on this, I actually know these are sponsored brands and these are sponsored product campaigns. But the long story short is you would really kind of want to use this as a way to find keywords that have done well for you, and then copy and paste them and move them into a campaign, a particular campaign. So you would just copy that to your clipboard here, and then you would go into the ad manager, for example, and you would find a campaign that is relevant for that. I believe it was gloves. So you would just find that campaign, one of these, and you would go into the campaign. You would add that keyword into one of the ad groups. You could do the same thing in Seller Central by, again, looking through the search term reports and finding keywords that have performed well for you, and maybe then looking for an associated campaign and then putting them in manually in Seller Central. But I hope you can see just how much easier it is to use a tool like Ads to do a lot of this manual work of looking at search terms, making them negative, or finding them to use potentially as a keyword. But the other major benefit of using a tool like Ads is that we make suggestions for you. We're actually going to do that manual work for you. We're actually going to look through those search term reports, find keywords to suggest as a new keyword, a search term that was doing well, and it is performed under parameters that you set. Again, you can see parameters here are kind of what I said before: over 2 sales, less than 30%. So I know that this particular search term was found in this campaign right here, Shin Sleeves video. And so we're going to suggest that it be moved to the next campaign or actually this is a sponsor brand campaign. So for a sponsor brand campaign, we're suggesting that you just target it directly because this is just a search term, and we're suggesting that you use it as a target in the sponsor brand. Same with auto campaigns. We're going to look at the search terms. We're going to see which ones performed well. We're going to suggest you move it into another campaign. In this case, we're going to suggest it from an auto campaign into a research campaign. And again, I won't go too much into the weeds there, but those are the types of campaigns we suggest as an auto and a research and a proven type campaign, which is the exact keywords eventually that get filtered into a campaign that you can then kind of scale up that campaign. And we do the same thing with negative keywords. So we're going to, again, all the manual work that I just showed you to go back and forth with your search term reports, copying and pasting, moving them, making them negative. Again, in a tool like Ads, we just do it for you. We're going to look through your search terms. We're going to find the ones that have performed poorly, because you can see here very high ACOSs, or maybe spends that are over your parameters. This has a over $7, zero spend. So, which is pretty specific. We know this product's only $15. So if it's spent over $7, and it gets even still one sale, it's going to be over 50% ACOS. We don't want that. So again, this is a much simpler way to, you can see there's quite a bit here. There's 50 different negative suggestions here. So again, we just make it a lot easier to do that manual work of optimizing your campaigns by going through your search term reports and copying and pasting them over into your campaigns within Seller Central. The other thing that I wanted to share is when you do have campaigns running for quite a bit of time, that you should really be looking at your placement bidding as well, or your dynamic bidding. We kind of went over those in the previous modules, so I just want to touch base on those again. That when you have a lot of history on a particular campaign, this is currently sent to lifetime, so this is a lot of history. So on this particular campaign, you'd want to go into it and see on the placement settings what's actually performed well and which hasn't, what hasn't performed well for you. Now, this particular campaign already had the dynamic bidding set up 20%. So we're basically telling Amazon here for top of search placements. So this is the search results, basically, when a user enters a search term. We want to increase our bid 20% by 20% if it's more likely to convert to a sale or reach a sale. As you can see here, it actually has not performed that well. 67% is what it's actually achieved. But you can see that the product pages is actually closer to the goal, which is 30% for this particular account. And the product pages, again, as mentioned in the previous module, is the ads that you see actually when you're on a product listing. So apparently for this particular campaign and the products in this campaign, it's performing better in product pages than it is in your top of search. So I'd actually probably switch this, and I'm just going to do that now. I'd remove the top of search placement, and actually I have to set it to 0. It doesn't let you select anything other than a number. So we're going to put that to 0, and I'm going to move that 20% budget that this user had, and I have permissions to optimize this campaign. So I'm just going to move that over to the product pages, because obviously those are performing better. Those placements are performing better than your the top of search. So you can use placement bidding when you're creating campaigns. One of the ways I said you can increase bids right away for your new campaigns is by using the placement bidding here. However, you can also and should also be using this to look at regularly, maybe every 30, 60, 90 days, to see what is actually working for you, what's not, and then making those adjustments based on those results. So this is another kind of overlooked method of optimizing campaigns that you should really actually be doing on, again, at least a monthly basis, just to see if there's something that you can do to increase the performance of that campaign. Dynamic bidding is another thing that you can do. You can see that placement bidding is also here, but it just hasn't updated yet. But dynamic bidding is another thing that you can do to increase the or change the bidding strategy overall for a particular campaign. Now, what we suggest in the previous modules, again, is bid down only. This is what the campaigns or the algorithm has been running on since the dawn of time. So Amazon, the algorithm is used to this and set it to this. However, I do know that for all new campaigns, dynamic bid up and down is what these are going to be set to default now. That's also a new thing. So if you want to switch that over to just bid down only after you create a campaign, you can't do that yet in ads. If you used our tool, you can create campaigns in there, but you can't do dynamic bidding or placement bidding like I just showed you. So you still have to do that within Seller Central. But if you have brand new campaigns, I believe for the past a couple months, they've all been set to dynamic bid up and down versus they used to be defaulted down only. So I definitely would suggest if you're unsure about maybe the campaign keywords that if you're just starting out just testing, after you create the campaign, just come back in here, switch it to bid down only for a while. Dynamic bid up and down, what we've seen this perform best is actually if your campaign is already making sales up to about 50 a week. So if you've got campaigns that are selling 50, whatever ad units or whatever products that are in there, if a campaign's selling 50 of those a week, then maybe attempt dynamic bid up and down. That might be a way to help maybe get you to the next level because it's already a proven campaign at that point. And if it's already proven, then Amazon has more data and you're more likely to benefit from Amazon increasing your bid by a maximum of 100%, as you can see here, in real time when your ad is more likely to convert to a sale. But it'll also still lower your bid when it's less likely to convert to a sale, which is the dynamic bid down only setting. So again, this is something that you should keep track of. If you do change these settings, write it down somewhere so that you can see in a week, in a month, in 60 days, what was the performance of this particular campaign when I changed the setting from this to this or from this to this. You can use fixed bids as well if you wanted to. I suggest this really only for maybe branded keyword campaigns that you actually know should convert or will convert very high. But the point is, if you do change these settings, there's no dates here. So to let you know when the last time you updated your dynamic bidding or your placement bidding, Amazon doesn't show you the last time you did any of that. So you actually just have to keep track of that to then know, on this date, I changed these settings and then I'm seeing this result from these changed settings. So that's another thing I highly suggest that you guys do just as a basic rule for optimizing your campaigns. So if you remember from Kevin's modules, he recommends optimizing after 7 days. And he does mention our tool, our ads tool, for using that because we do actually look at 7 days worth of data before making things like suggestions like our bid suggestions for keywords, which we do for every single keyword in all your campaign types. As you can see here, no matter what campaign type they are, we're going to make bid suggestions for you every 7 days. But if you're not using a tool like ads, you at least want to be doing the manual work of looking at your search term reports once a week, going through the sorting exercise, finding the ones that are not working for you or spending too much without sales or high ACoS, and then manually adding those as negative or maybe pausing those keywords manually in your campaigns here in Seller Central. So, but again, I've also explained the importance of looking at longer views of your data as well, looking at your placement bidding, looking at your search terms and your keywords in longer views as well. So it's a combination of, minimum maybe every 7 days, but then also things that you should be checking every 30, 60, and 90 days. So the other thing to remember when you're first starting out is that your goal is just to get the data that you can eventually use to whittle down what works. If you don't have this data, then you really don't have a way to figure out the right formula for your campaigns. So if you have campaigns, or keywords with very little impressions, you can see here, this one has, practically nothing, then obviously that means that you need to do a better job of increasing the bids for these particular keywords so that you can get some data that you need. Again, if there's no data here, then, and this has been, campaign's been on since August 21st. If there's no data, then you can't really whittle it down then after the fact, which is kind of the point of launching PPC campaigns and testing different keywords in order to see what works and what does not work for you. Now, my final recommendation is just to remember that once your campaigns are running for some time, even if they're doing kind of well, don't just let them sit there. Continue to do your search term research. Maybe add more keywords. Maybe this campaign just needs some additional keywords that haven't been researched yet, or that you might find from your search term reports. Don't just let a campaign sit. If they're doing poorly, if they're doing well, make sure that you stay on top of them, because it's not just an automatic thing. And don't get attached to keywords that are not converting. As a general rule, if a particular keyword has over 10 clicks here and it hasn't converted, then you can pause that keyword. A lot of times what happens is that you launch a campaign and you think that particular keywords are going to work for you, but they actually end up not working. And then keywords that you thought might work for you actually end up not working for you at all. So you don't want to get attached to particular keywords that you did your research. Hopefully you're using Magnet and Cerebra to do kind of your research. But if you've got any keywords that have, I'm looking for an example here, but that have clicks but no sales, this is an example right here, 12 clicks, and it spent $8. This is definitely something that you can just pause, right? So don't get attached to keywords. There's another one here, over 11. If 10 people have looked at it and they haven't bought it and you're spending money on it, don't continue to spend money on it. And again, I just showed you how to do that really quickly in Seller Central, but you can also really quickly do that in our tool by using our filters even to do things like sort by clicks and things of that nature. So that is it for this module, and hopefully you guys have learned just enough to do some damage with your campaign optimizations, whether it be in Seller Central or whether it be here in our ads tool. I'm excited that we're continuing to build upon this tool, so it's going to get more and more advanced as time goes on, and we hope to see you within our ads tool maybe someday soon.